Kharon vakt us. Kharon watches over us. But what is such a promise worth if a soul can still be stolen before judgment?
In the lands of Waryaume, warriors do not fear death alone. They fear something worse, that their soul may be stolen before it is ever judged. In Waryaume, it is from this fear that Kharonism was born. A faith of war, a faith of passage, a faith raised against Argone.
Before Kharonism, there was a rupture. Since the earliest ages, fallen warriors were meant to stand before Kharon and be judged according to their honor. But according to ancient traditions, Argone learned to corrupt certain souls even before that judgment. This was the betrayal. Death then ceased to be a safe passage, and worthy warriors were diverted into darkness before they could even stand beneath Kharon's gaze.
It is from this wound that Kharonism was born. Kharon passed on to mortals a path of preparation for death, one that tradition says was encouraged by Argone. Among the Novians, this path became a martial discipline: oaths, rites, training of body and soul. Kharonism never promises escape from judgment. It seeks only to prevent a worthy soul from being diverted before it can stand before Kharon.
Kharonism was never meant to abolish judgment. It seeks to make that judgment possible once more. For Kharon does not snatch souls from battle, only to send them back to the earth. He receives them in order to judge them according to their honor, their courage, and the way they endured trial. And for the worthiest, to open the path to the eternal fields. Argone acts otherwise. He defiles, diverts, and may cast those souls out of that passage,
even sending them back into the earthly world in the form of undead.
From that point on, Kharonism shapes an entire society. It does not merely prepare men to die, it teaches them how to live so they will not be delivered to Argone. Among the Novians, war is therefore never seen as mere conquest. It is also a moral trial, where the way one fights matters just as much as the outcome of the battle. Even after the battle, the ritual continues. The bodies are burned in the fire of glory. This fire honors the dead, but it also protects the living, for it destroys the flesh before Argone can turn it into ghouls, or Baal can raise Narskai from it. And if the warrior is not received by Kharon, at least his shell will never return to haunt the living.
But not all peoples of Waryaume, where the Novians commit the souls of their warriors to judgment. Others seek above all to prevent the return of the bodies. Thus were born, under the light of Argone, sanctified mass graves. Not to open the eternal fields, but to close the earth against the undead.
In this faith, the worst thing is not always to fall in battle. The worst may be to be taken back after death, torn away from judgment, and cast into the earthly world as a ghoul, an undead stripped of honor, will, and rest. This is the fear that haunts the warriors of the North, not merely to die, but to be prevented from reaching the eternal fields.
And yet, even in the face of such horror, another temptation remains. Not all choose Kharon's path, and not all fall into the blind state of the ghoul. Some seek a third path, to preserve their flesh, their mind, and part of their power, but at the price of a pact. In the darkest traditions, such beings become the Narskai, bearers of Baal's pacts, lesser demons still bound to a degraded human form. Where the ghoul is nothing but a fall, the Narskai is lucid servitude.
In Waryaume, death does not open only one door. For some, it leads to Kharonjment. For others, it demands rites capable of preventing the return of the dead. For still others, it falls into Argone's decay or into Baal's pacts. And each of these paths says something about what a being has accepted to become. In Waryaume, when death knocks at your door, what would seem worse to you? To be judged by Kharon? To serve Argone as a ghoul? Or to keep all your faculties while serving Baal?